Mother leopard Malika deeply regrets the decision to have her daughter. Sometimes she feels she might have to take drastic measures against her, perhaps due to the pressure that far exceeds her expectations. The female leopard named Chiki is now 3 years old. Normally, she should be starting an independent life, but this pampered little princess still refuses to leave her mother's territory. Chiki not only doesn't hunt, but also avoids seeking a mate, choosing instead to lounge around, living off her mother. Hungry, she goes to her mother for food. Tired, she naps on her mother's tree. She prefers to live off her mother rather than making any effort herself. Malika feels helpless in the face of her daughter's dependency. Whenever she sees her daughter like this, she can't help but regret not having had a more self-sufficient child, but instead, a giant baby who still depends on her at 3 years old. It is extremely painful. This morning, while all the other animals were busy in the early sunlight, the lazy Chiki was still lounging around in bed. She doesn't need to worry about her breakfast, as she can always scrounge food from her hardworking mother. Since Chiki was a cub, Malika has been teaching her hunting skills. But even now, Chiki has never successfully caught any prey. At her age, she should have established her own territory and lived independently, but she continues to sponge off her mother. Last night, Malika had just hunted a gazelle and dragged it up into a tree to prevent it from being stolen. However, she did not anticipate that the hidden food would not often be stolen by other predators, but rather frequently pilfered by her own daughter. As usual, Chiki, the young leopard, sauntered toward her mother's territory upon waking up. Leopards generally do not share their food with their grown offspring, but the young princess showed no such reservations. If she didn't get food, she would scream, throw tantrums, and roll around on the ground. Malika roared at her unruly daughter, but to no avail. Their argument quickly attracted the attention of other animals, and the baboons started to get agitated. This was unwise, as the baboon's noise might attract other formidable predators. But the haughty Chiki remained indifferent, continuing to throw a tantrum at her mother. Faced with this situation, Malika had no choice but to give up her food to calm her daughter down. Once again, Chiki enjoyed a successful meal, savoring it with a sense of entitlement, while leaving her mother with a face full of resentment. At that moment, Malika had an unusual thought. She had had enough of her infantile daughter and decided to abandon the territory she had managed for 7 years and leave home. Leopards are solitary animals, and cubs usually leave their mothers to live independently after 12 to 18 months. However, Chiki had become the only exception on the savanna, unable to fend for herself even at 3 years old. For leopards living on the savanna, survival is a significant challenge. Besides hunting alone, they must also be wary of lions, hyenas, and other predators. Supporting herself was already tough enough, let alone having to support a dependent like Chiki. The pressure on Malika was immense. By nightfall, under the cover of darkness, Malika packed her belongings and left with her essentials. She abandoned the territory she had managed for 7 years, leaving it to her unworthy daughter, and moved to a place 3 kilometers away, never to return. Whether Chiki would find enough to eat was now entirely up to her. The next morning, Chiki woke up to find her mother gone. She went to the riverbank where her mother frequently visited, drank some water, and waited for her mother to come back. She thought her mother must have gone out to hunt for her, so she decided to find a comfortable spot on the riverbank and wait for her mother to return. However, as the entire day passed without the familiar figure showing up, Chiki felt quite confused. Chiki had never considered that her mother would suddenly leave home, let alone abandon her. Despite this, she continued to hope for her mother's return. Chiki did not realize that her parasitic behavior had driven Malika to leave. This rare situation had indeed come to pass. By evening, Chiki finally began to grasp the seriousness of the situation. Perhaps her mother really would not come back. By nightfall, hunger prompted her to take the initiative and try to catch prey. She targeted a pair of porcupines but found them too spiky and gave up. Then she set her sights on a small hippopotamus, but decided it was too large and might be too much to eat. Finally, she focused on a herd of deer and decided to try catching them. Mimicking her mother's hunting methods, Chi-Ki approached the prey quietly, but soon she became so drowsy that she fell asleep. In her dreams, she was enjoying a delicious meal of gazelle, which provided her with some consolation. An hour later, Chi-Ki woke up and decided to return to the tree for a good night's sleep. After all, she had already enjoyed a meal in her dreams and wasn't too hungry anymore. In the middle of the night, she was awakened by a series of roars. As a haughty young leopard, Chi-Ki could not tolerate such disturbances. With her mother usually handling these minor issues, she decided to investigate the noisy neighbor herself. Unbeknownst to her, the roars were warnings from a powerful lion king. Fortunately, the lion was diverted by other animals, and Chi-Ki narrowly escaped. After this scare, Chi-Ki could no longer sleep, and hunger pulled her back to reality. She decided to venture out again, hoping to find some food. Nearby, a group of gazelles was still present, but hunting them required immense patience, a quality Chi-Ki clearly lacked. Just then, she spotted two hyenas enjoying a midnight snack and was immediately excited. She completely forgot that hyenas are renowned scavengers on the savannah and continued to approach them. Chi-Ki attempted to use her mother's method, roaring loudly while stealthily approaching the food. But this left the hyena brothers astonished. They had never seen such a foolish leopard. To avoid being disturbed by this audacious leopard, the hyenas decided to drive Chi-Ki away. After finishing their meal, the hyena brothers were ready to rest. At this point, Chi-Ki, shamelessly persistent, returned hoping to scavenge some leftovers. The hyena brothers were appalled by her audacity and had never encountered such a brazen leopard. Ultimately, they decided to call in a third hyena to deal with Chi-Ki. The three hyenas teamed up, drove Chi-Ki back to her territory, and planned to report the incident to the hyena queen the next day, warning of this audacious leopard who dared to challenge them. The next morning, Chi-Ki woke up feeling dejected. She couldn't understand why her usual tricks that always worked on her mother were ineffective on the hyena. Besides not getting any food, she had ended up with a face full of wounds from being bitten by the dog. After this incident, Chi-Ki, who had become accustomed to freeloading, finally realized the harshness of the world. Nevertheless, she didn't consider hunting for herself, but instead continued to look for new sources of free meals. She thought that freeloading from hunting dogs would be impractical, but seeking out similar animals might prevent her from getting bitten. If she could find a male leopard to freeload from, she could use her own advantages to ensure she wouldn't be bitten. After a thorough search, Chi-Ki targeted a 12-year-old male leopard in the territory. Despite his age, he remained strong and enjoyed a diet of lamb every day, living a comfortable life. With a plan in mind, Chi-Ki approached the old leopard's tree, putting on her most charming smile and showing off her figure. The old leopard was clearly taken by her beauty, his eyes almost bulging. But he still did not invite her to lunch. Chi-Ki felt frustrated, thinking she had done everything possible, and that the old fellow was indifferent. The old leopard, however, believed that his years of experience in the savannah had taught him to stay single for good reasons and not to be easily deceived. Just as Cheeky was about to lose her temper, the commotion caused by nearby baboons caused the old leopard to flee with the meat. And Cheeky, thinking her plan had worked, was startled to find a rectal specialist hunting dog and a group of lions approaching. Causing her to flee in panic. After yet another failure, Cheeky reluctantly abandoned her freeloading plans and patrolled the territory, arriving at a spot where her mother once hunted. There were plenty of prey here, and Cheeky hoped for some success. However, with no hunting experience, she was easily spotted by the antelopes, who quickly scattered. Cheeky was puzzled, remembering how effortlessly her mother used to hunt. After some reflection, she realized that the key was to be less conspicuous in her actions. So she tried to approach the antelopes stealthily, just like her mother had done. However, as she waited in a shallow pit and couldn't resist peeking, the antelopes noticed her. The antelopes looked at her mockingly as if saying, "You? Catch me? Go home and wash up." Although she didn't catch any prey, Cheeky gained valuable experience from the encounter. Cheeky's luck seemed to turn around. On her way home, she looked up and spotted a piece of old jerky hanging from a tree. Though it wasn't fresh, it would at least fill her stomach. Recently, Cheeky had been surviving by scavenging old jerky left on trees or finding discarded scraps of food near trash cans. Life was tougher than before, but at least she wasn't starving and made it through another day safely. Cheeky, who had woken up early, hadn't slept well the previous night due to insomnia. She realized that this couldn't go on. Although she could survive by scavenging, it wasn't a long-term solution. To live a better life, she needed to work hard. However, working seemed nearly impossible for her. She thought about finding a good supporter, but found it unsuitable to look for a female leopard because she wasn't interested in that. Looking for a male leopard, on the other hand, seemed unfeasible because the old one in the territory was nearing the end of his life. Although he was lazy and indulgent, he wouldn't stoop to relying on an old fellow just for food. Cheeky racked her brains but couldn't come up with a solution. Just when she felt despondent, as if by divine favor, a young and handsome male leopard, Cain, entered the territory and drove the old leopard away. This was exactly the kind of supporter Cheeky was looking for. But at that moment, Cheeky didn't know that good fortune was about to fall into her lap. Still groggy, she continued scavenging for food. Little did the young leopard know that he was about to be latched onto by the most lazy and indulgent leopardess on the savannah, not realizing whether it would be a blessing or a curse for him. That afternoon, while patrolling the territory, Cheeky detected Cain's scent left on some branches. From the scent, she could tell it was a young and handsome male. This excited Cheeky immensely. This was exactly what she had been hoping for. After a thorough search, she finally spotted Cain. The sight of this strong and handsome young leopard made Cheeky fall head over heels. From the moment she saw Cain, she couldn't think of anything else, constantly preoccupied with thoughts of him. Determined to secure her happiness, Cheeky decided to take the initiative and pursue Cain aggressively. She followed him everywhere he went, never leaving his side. At this moment, Cheeky seemed to have transformed into a stalker of the animal kingdom. However, the handsome Cain didn't seem to be impressed by Cheeky. Instead, he appeared somewhat frightened. He had never encountered such a bold female before. Normally outgoing Cain was now feeling rather shy due to Cheeky's advances. In contrast, Cheeky was indifferent to Cain's reaction. She followed him relentlessly, occasionally peeking from behind a dirt slope or climbing up a tree to keep a watchful eye from above. She was determined that, with her charm, she would win over this inexperienced young man. Faced with the passionate Chi-Ki, Cain, who had never been in a romantic relationship before, felt incredibly awkward. His mother had never taught him how to handle such a situation. Cain shouted at Chi-Ki, warning her not to come closer, insisting that if she wanted him, she would need to build a relationship first. However, Chi-Ki was not deterred. Her frustration grew as Cain continued to resist her advances. Without any warning, Chi-Ki suddenly sat down on Cain, making it clear that she wanted to get straight to the point. This bold move startled the shy young man, who had no experience with such matters. Flustered and unsure, Cain quickly scrambled down from the tree and fled the scene. By nightfall, Chi-Ki was still relentlessly pursuing him. After a long night of persistent persuasion, Cain finally succumbed to Chi-Ki's advances. They spent the entire night together, and through Chi-Ki's persistent efforts in a different direction, Cain found himself comfortably living a life where everything was handed to him. Unfortunately, being new to the ways of the world, Cain did not realize the harsh realities of society. Thus, he fell under Chi-Ki's spell and became her exclusive prey, bound to serve her needs. In its final moments of attack, he grabs a young chamois that failed to hide in time. Although the eagle's talons pierce through the chamois's flesh and reach the bone, the prey does not die immediately. And summer is coming to an end. At this point, the pressure on the golden eagle parents to hunt has lessened. As an empty nest means the chicks have fledged and begun to find their own way. As the cold air arrives, the season of food scarcity is also approaching. The golden eagle pair still resides in the mountains, but finding prey has become significantly more challenging. The chamois born in spring have grown. And now their weight is about 5 times that of the golden eagles. Prey of this size is difficult for most birds to capture easily. Faced with the swiftly approaching female golden eagle, the chamois herd shows almost no signs of retreat. However, the chamois living on the cliff have overlooked the possibility that the golden eagles might change their hunting strategy. The golden eagles select a chamois that is alone on the cliff face. Despite the prey's large size, the golden eagles are still willing to take the risk. The male golden eagle embeds his talons deeply into the chamois's flesh and drags it towards the cliff's edge, attempting to use the height of the cliff to carry it into the air. This approach is undoubtedly very risky. A moment of inattention could break the golden eagle's wings, making survival impossible. The female golden eagle anxiously flies nearby, but the male has already carried the chamois into the high air. The violent impact causes the chamois to die instantly. With such a large prey, the golden eagle pair can feast for several days. To prepare for the upcoming winter, they must store enough fat to endure the coming months of food scarcity. The battered and critically injured lion before them was none other than the mighty Apollo, the Lion King revered by all. To protect his wife and children from harm, he had resolutely launched a final assault against the two invading male lions. Despite knowing he was outnumbered, he used his own body to create a solid shield for his wife and offspring. Unfortunately, he ultimately succumbed to his wounds. At this point, Apollo's breasts were shallow and labored, and he was on the brink of death. Yet he clung to life, unwilling to give up until he knew whether his wife, Maddie, and their 3 cubs were safe. Weeks later, when Apollo, on the edge of his life, finally heard Maddie's call, he was too weak to respond. At last, he could lower his proud head in peace and pass away. The story of Apollo and Maddie is one of the tragedies wrought by human greed. They once had a happy family life. Apollo, the Lion King, patrolled their territory, while Maddie, the lioness, hunted for food. Together, they raised their 3 adorable cubs. Although their territory was small, they lived joyfully. Unlike other lions who took multiple mates, Apollo was devoted to Maddie, enduring her occasional tantrums with patience. However, recently, unsettling roars from afar began to overshadow their peace, and even the owls seemed restless. Suddenly, 2 male lions appeared in their sight, followed by a group of aggressive lionesses. These were the sources of the couple's anxiety. Faced with the threat, Apollo, as a husband and father, knew there was no escape. Determined to protect his wife and fragile cubs, he bravely confronted the invading enemies. Bravery became the lion's greatest weapon in this life-and-death duel. He charged at the 2 adversaries but was quickly overpowered by their numbers. Under the assault of the 2 male lions, Apollo was soon at a disadvantage. Meanwhile, his wife Maddie was not safe either. She was being pursued by a group of lionesses. The lionesses quickly surrounded her, and her body was soon covered in blood from their attacks. Despite the overwhelming numbers, Maddie faced them fearlessly, willing to exchange wounds for wounds. She managed to injure one of the leading lions, blinding him in one eye, and then, under the cover of night, she escaped the encirclement. After weeks of recovery, Maddie's injuries had almost healed. She cautiously returned to their territory, only to find it filled with unfamiliar scents. This unusual atmosphere filled her with deep unease, as if every rustling leaf was a potential threat. She mournfully called out, hoping for a response from her husband, but only the thunderous roar of a storm answered her, a sign that even the heavens were enraged by her misfortune. Despite her growing apprehension, Maddie refused to believe that the invincible Apollo could be defeated, and she continued to search, guided by the scent, holding on to a glimmer of hope. Suddenly, as Maddie searched, she froze. She found the familiar figure, her husband, King Apollo. But Apollo was now gravely injured, on the brink of death. He clung to his last breath just to see his wife Maddie one final time. When he saw that Maddie was safe, Apollo could no longer hold on. He slowly lowered his proud head, bringing the legendary Lion King's life to a close. Meanwhile, Maddie's legend was just beginning. After a brief period of mourning, Maddie did not linger too long in sadness, as danger still loomed. She faced a choice: either submit to the killers of Apollo, which would mean the death of her 3 cubs, or find the cubs and lead them to safety, hoping they might avenge their father in the future. Maddie did not hesitate. She would never yield to the enemies who killed Apollo. Fortunately, Maddie quickly found her children, all safe and sound. However, the enemies were closing in. The new Lion King's gaze was fixed on them, and the path by the stream was blocked by a group of lionesses. Leading them was an eye-patched lioness, Silvereye, who held a deep grudge against Maddie. Both sides were filled with trepidation for the impending battle. Maddie was severely injured, and Silvereye had become a one-eyed lioness. If Silvereye captured Maddie, the consequences would be dire. At that moment, lightning struck the forest where Maddie was hiding, as if even the heavens wanted to hinder her escape. Time was running out. The north was occupied by humans, and venturing there would only lead to capture, so Maddie had no choice but to head south. However, with the cubs being so young, the two older ones could barely keep up with their mother, and the smallest one needed to be carried by Maddie in her mouth to avoid falling behind. The journey south was not smooth. A wide river blocked their path. Lions generally fear rivers because powerful predators often lurk beneath the water. Nonetheless, with the lions closing in, Maddie had no choice but to risk crossing the river. Without hesitation, Maddie carefully entered the water. Her eldest son, inheriting Apollo's bravery and wisdom, followed closely behind. The second son was more cautious, slowly entering the water and swimming toward his mother. However, the youngest daughter, terrified, hesitated to enter the water. The riverbank lions noticed the youngest cub, but Maddie could not afford to worry about her at this moment and continued to swim forward with all her strength. Fortunately, Maddie and the two older cubs soon reached the opposite bank. She anxiously watched her youngest cub on the other side, as if encouraging her to keep going. Feeling her mother's support, the youngest cub finally gathered the courage to enter the water and swim toward the bank. However, it was too late, and danger remained imminent. Without Maddie's protection, crocodiles became unrestrained. With a splash, the youngest cub failed to surface again. Maddie stared in despair at the river's surface, having lost both her beloved husband and youngest daughter in a single day. This was an unbearable blow for her. Even her eldest son anxiously searched for his missing sister. Ultimately, the satisfied male lions returned to their original territory, leaving Maddie in profound silence. Maddie silently turned and continued south with her two surviving cubs. The dead could not be brought back, but life had to go on. Weeks later, Maddie and her cubs wandered to a small island. They were the only lions on the island. Although the island was very safe, being deep in a delta with frequent seasonal floods and sparse wildlife, it was difficult for Maddie to teach her cubs hunting skills, which were crucial for their survival. Suddenly, a herd of buffalo driven by humans fled to the island, offering Maddie a chance for hunting. However, these buffalo were no ordinary herd. With sharp horns and massive bodies, they were among the most aggressive animals on the African continent. Particularly the buffalo leader, Scar, a one-ton bull, harbored a special hatred for lions. He would attack without hesitation upon seeing Maddie. Faced with this fierce herd, Maddie could only flee in desperation. Knowing she could not confront the entire herd, she needed to find an opportunity to hunt the weak and infirm buffalo. Such chances were rare, and Maddie could only patrol the periphery of the herd, looking for their weaknesses. Efforts paid off when a young buffalo strayed from the herd, giving Maddie a hunting opportunity. However, the buffalo mother quickly noticed and a deadly struggle ensued between the two mothers for their young. Ultimately, Maddie was unable to secure the kill, leaving her cubs to endure more hunger. The failed attempt worried Maddie that the young buffalo might report to Scar, and with her milk dwindling as the cubs' appetite increased, her eldest son refrained from competing for the milk, perhaps deeply affected by the loss of his sister. After feeding the cubs, Maddie forced herself to seek another hunting opportunity. Soon she discovered a pattern. When she sprinted at full speed, the buffalo herd would become panicked, possibly creating a chance for her. As Maddie battled wits with the buffalo, Silver Eye noticed the commotion. Relentless in his pursuit of Maddie, Silver Eye decided to take advantage of the cover of night. He led a group of followers across the river to Maddie's hiding place. Fortunately, Maddie sensed something was amiss and immediately issued a warning roar, using her knowledge of the environment to hide the cubs in the underbrush. The island was Maddie's last refuge, and she had no escape route left. Meanwhile, Scar had learned of Maddie's previous attack on his tribe and led the buffalo herd to seek revenge. Upon landing, Scar stumbled upon Silver Eye basking in the sun and immediately launched an attack. Silver Eye was thrown into confusion, not understanding why he had drawn the ire of a fierce herd of buffalo right after landing. Fortunately, this clash allowed Maddie to escape, and amid the water splashes from the buffalo's retreat, she discovered a new hunting method. Determined, she decided to hunt again. However, Silvereye was not deterred and noticed Maddie's actions. He stealthily approached the cub's hiding spot. If he succeeded in getting close, the cubs would face direct threat. Maddie seemed to sense something but failed to detect Silvereye's approach until he was within about 5 meters of the cubs. At the critical moment, Maddie finally spotted him and in a frenzy pounced on Silvereye, quickly pinning him down. Unexpectedly, Maddie did not harm Silvereye, but instead demonstrated extraordinary magnanimity and tolerance, perhaps embodying the grace of a true leader. Unbeknownst to Silvereye, he would later become an important general under Maddie. After driving Silvereye away, Maddie continued to test her new hunting method and succeeded in catching prey, as the cubs were nearly starving. She needed to place the cubs in a safe location, like the nearby bushes, a good hiding spot to keep them away from Silvereye and the buffalo. However, Maddie did not realize that this would become one of her greatest regrets. While the cubs were playing joyfully, enjoying a rare moment of peace, Maddie cautiously waded into the water, overcoming her fear for her children. The buffalo were unaware of Maddie's approach and were unprepared. Maddie decided to take the risk. And sure enough, when the herd saw her sudden appearance, they scattered in panic. A young buffalo, unable to escape, was brought down by Maddie, making a successful kill. She finally had a hearty meal and enjoyed a feast. However, victories on the plains often attract many celebrants. Opportunistic hyenas, drawn by the scent, quickly arrived. Facing the overwhelming number of hyenas, Maddie had no choice but to relinquish her hard-earned meal. Fortunately, she was already full, and the cubs would have plenty of milk. Exhausted from days of fighting, Maddie lay on a tree trunk, gazing at the distant sunset, as if reminiscing about the tender moments with Apollo. Soon she fell asleep with those memories. She was so tired that she slept deeply. However, Scar discovered the cubs' trail. Seeking revenge for the fallen young buffalo, he led the buffalo herd to Maddie. The next morning, Maddie woke up, not having had the chance to enjoy the beauty of the morning. As she prepared to feed the cubs, she found nothing. Both of the children were missing. Panic set in for Maddie. She anxiously searched everywhere and accidentally detected the lingering scent of buffalo. Things were looking grim. Suddenly, a piercing cry reached Maddie's ears. It was her second daughter's voice. Maddie collapsed on the ground, her spine crushed by the buffalo's hooves, unable to stand. Seeing this, Maddie's heart shattered. She tried to pick up her daughter, hoping to restore her ability to walk, but she could only crawl forever. Maddie knew her second daughter had no hope left, and her eldest son was still missing. Bearing the pain, she turned away, unable to keep her second daughter any longer despite her grief. The continuous blows had nearly extinguished her will to fight. Her second daughter continued to cry out for her mother, bewildered by why her loving mother no longer paid attention. As Maddie's figure grew distant, the daughter seemed to understand that her mother had abandoned her. In these final moments of helplessness, Maddie remembered the true culprit. She cast aside all hesitation and vowed to avenge her second daughter. Maddie charged at the buffalo herd with reckless abandon. To challenge an entire herd with just one lioness was almost unheard of in the animal kingdom. However, she underestimated Scar's strength. The 1-ton bull was a formidable force. And despite Maddie's efforts to maul Scar, it was all in vain. Her frustration led her to roar at the heavens, as if cursing her own impotence. She had failed to protect her cubs and could not avenge them. Her roar did not bring aid but attracted Silvereye's attention. Facing the one who had caused her family's ruin, Maddie decided to stop fleeing. She vowed to fight Silvereye and his followers to the death. With fierce determination, she charged at Silvereye and knocked him down with a single frontal assault. Silvereye appeared as weak as ever, but Maddie was surprised to see that the lion pride merely stood by. Maddie turned away and continued her quest for vengeance. Seeing Maddie's resolute back, the lion pride felt a newfound power and decided to follow her lead. Abandoned, Silvereye looked on from a distance, unable to accept his defeat and unwilling to pursue. The lions, now emboldened by Maddie's strength, seemed to overcome their fear of the river and no longer fought alone. They began to work together, preparing to exact revenge on Scar. Though it was their first coordinated effort, their harmonious teamwork quickly overpowered Scar. However, the buffalo herd refused to give up their leader. They rescued Scar and launched a fierce counterattack on the lions. The battle shifted dramatically, with the lions becoming fragmented and exhausted. At this moment, Maddie heard a familiar cry. Her eldest son was still alive. The news filled Maddie with joy and rekindled her hope for life. She fought fiercely to drive away the buffalo herd and reunited with her eldest son. However, the buffalo were not finished with him and began a slow but powerful assault. Maddie guarded her son fiercely, determined to sacrifice her life to protect him. Yet Silvereye reappeared behind Maddie at some point, trapping her in a desperate situation. At this critical moment, a mere exchange of glances made Maddie realize Silvereye's intention. He was there to help her. Maddie quickly reorganized the lion pride and prepared for the final revenge against Scar. This time she was determined to succeed. United, the lions displayed immense strength, working together to finally bring Scar down. A new lion pride emerged, led by the lioness Maddie. Her eldest son's only remaining lineage would receive the best protection and growth. If Apollo could see this, he would surely be proud of his wife. Not only did she rise in adversity, but she also led the lion pride to victory, which would have given him immense satisfaction. An adult orca can kill a great white shark with a single strike, generating a force of up to 1,000 kilograms that can instantly fatalize the shark. This scene took place in a sea off the northwest coast of Australia, where a 6-meter-long great white shark was leisurely swimming in the area. As a top predator in the ocean, the great white shark has a fearsome reputation. But today it seemed out of luck because, not far behind it, a pod of orcas was silently approaching. The pod was led by a 60-year-old female orca, the matriarch of the group named Sophia. Today she was going to teach her pod how to hunt great white sharks. This dramatic hunting scene showcased Sophia's years of hunting experience, making her an unmatched predatory expert. Sophia observed the great white shark's every move from the deep water, while the shark was unaware it had become the prey. For the experienced Sophia, hunting sharks was not a challenge. With her immense strength and exceptional hunting skills, the great white shark had no chance of retaliating. This strike was a testament to her power. This has left Jaws with multiple broken ribs, but there's still a chance the great white might attack her. Sophia swims around the great white, trying to see if the shark is still capable of attacking him. But Sophia's attack is too precise. The great white has fainted. Sophia knows it's time for the kill. He bites the shark and drags it into deep water, using the pressure of the water to drown the shark. This spectacular hunt has the family cheering. When feeding on a great white shark, the killer whales will only eat the visceral parts, as the liver is rich in nutrients, leaving the rest for other sea creatures. Sophia shares these delicacies with her offspring so that they will recognize the value and nutrition of the liver, thus enhancing their survival. The orca, with an intelligence comparable to that of a 15-year-old human, is one of the most intelligent creatures in the ocean. However, Sophia is now quite old and must quickly train new leaders to ensure the survival of the pod after her departure. The pod of orcas led by Sophia consists of 6 individuals and requires a large amount of food each day. She is an excellent teacher and has imparted her lifetime of hunting skills to her offspring. Now it is time to test their learning. Sophia is very familiar with every corner of this ocean, and she quickly leads the pod to another sea area where the target for their hunt, the flatfish dolphin, resides. The flatfish dolphin is an exceptionally intelligent and highly social marine mammal. To capture them, the orca family must coordinate their actions precisely. Sophia leaves her youngest granddaughter behind, as she is still too young to participate in this thrilling hunt. However, she can observe how her father hunts. At this moment, the orca pod has submerged into deeper waters to avoid detection by the dolphins on the surface. The dolphins are unaware of the approaching orcas. Suddenly, the appearance of the orca family startles the dolphins. Leaving them disoriented. Despite the dolphins' speed of up to 60 kilometers per hour, the orcas can match it. Sophia watches as her pod quietly closes in on a dolphin, but does not rush to attack, as the dolphin has already fallen into their encirclement. They continue to chase the dolphin until it is exhausted. Ultimately, Sophia's son delivers a fatal blow, sending the dolphin flying out of the water, and the orca pod successfully completes the hunt. In the days when Sophia was not present, her pod thrived well in these waters. At over 60 years old, Sophia understood that she only had a few years left to live, and the pod had not yet encountered a truly formidable opponent. It was time to lead the pod to face a real challenge, capturing the ocean's apex predator, the humpback whale. Each year, female humpback whales migrate from their feeding grounds in Antarctica to Oceania to give birth. The calm and temperate waters here are ideal for nurturing their young. Sophia led her pod to this area, knowing well that it is a key route for the humpback whales. Their target this time was the young calves. Sophia closely followed the humpback whales. If successful, she could retire from the forefront and leave behind a legacy. The pod approached their target silently. However, the female humpback whale quickly became aware of their presence. Despite their massive size, the humpback whale's tail, which is about 5 meters wide and extremely powerful, and its side fins posed significant threats, even though the orcas outnumbered them. The calf was hiding on its mother's back. To capture the calf, Sophia needed to first dislodge it from the mother's back. To achieve this, they took turns creating waves to try and knock the calf off. However, in a month's time, the calf would grow strong enough to fend off the orca attacks. At present, the calf was not yet capable of such resistance. But the situation soon took a turn. A male adult humpback whale appeared, trying to drive Sophia's pod away with its powerful tail and strength. The arrival of the male humpback whale almost changed the tide of the battle, making it nearly impossible to capture the calf. The humpback whale slapped its tail vigorously, creating bubbles that not only obscured the orca's vision, but also formed a powerful acoustic barrier. If the orcas failed to dodge in time, being struck by the humpback whale's tail could be fatal. The two humpback whales escorted the female whale away, leaving Sophia in a predicament with no immediate solution. However, the orcas would not give up easily. Sophia commanded her pod to retreat temporarily. After successfully repelling the attackers, the two male humpback whales decided to force Sophia away from the area, but this was their fatal mistake. With the humpback mother and calf left unprotected, Sophia cleverly maneuvered the male humpback whales away from the target. When the mother and calf were left isolated and vulnerable, Sophia led her pod to turn back and charge at them once more. At this point, Sophia and her pod members attacked in turn, heavily pressing on the calf's back, dragging it into the deep water, and ultimately causing its suffocation. With her exceptional cunning, Sophia turned the tide of the battle in favor of her pod. They captured a baby humpback whale and only consumed its tongue, leaving the rest for the sharks to handle. This pod of orcas is led by a female named Star. As top predators in the ocean, orcas have an intelligence level comparable to a 15-year-old human child. Orcas are found in almost every part of the ocean, and Star's pod consists of 6 orcas who share a strong familial bond, remaining almost inseparable. This entire family relies on Star's wisdom and hunting experience to thrive in the ocean. Currently, Star is searching for food for one of her pregnant daughters. Female orcas give birth approximately every 5 years, so the arrival of a calf is crucial for them. They are in greater need of food than ever before. A lone California sea lion appears not far from Star's pod. Becoming the first target of the day. Soon, Star spots the sea lion and begins to stealthily approach from the water. At this moment, the sea lion is unaware of the impending danger. In the deep waters, Star's presence is almost invisible until her large tail suddenly strikes the sea lion, causing it to lose consciousness. Immediately after, Star delivers another powerful blow, completely incapacitating the sea lion. Now the pregnant daughter can finally enjoy this substantial meal. They admire Star's hunting skills greatly, Under her guidance, they rarely need to worry about food, and the family eagerly shares the feast. However, this food is only sufficient for their immediate consumption. To ensure that all family members are fed, Star must lead them to find more prey. Monterey Bay hides an unfathomable abyss, as majestic as the Grand Canyon, splitting the entire bay with a depth of over 3,000 meters. Almost all coastal creatures pass through this canyon. By the time Star moved here, several months had passed, and her daughter had already given birth to a calf. Star and her family knew that this was the best hunting ground for capturing large prey. At this time, gray whales are embarking on their 4-month migration. The gray whale mother, leading her calf, is approaching the bay. After months of migration without feeding, the gray whale mother needs to continue her journey. When they reach Monterey Bay, the gray whale mother is acutely aware of the danger and takes her calf into the deeper parts of the bay, sticking as close to the safety of the coastline as possible and pausing regular breaths. Despite their careful attempts to avoid surfacing, they are still easily spotted when they reach the middle of the bay. Soon, Star's pod discovers them not far away and moves in for the opportunity. The gray whale mother and calf, aware of the danger, try to speed up to escape. However, Star's pod soon catches up with them. Adult gray whales weigh more than 10 times as much as orcas, making them a challenging prey for Star's pod. The orca pod circles around the gray whale mother and calf, looking for an opportunity. Soon, Star initiates an attack on the gray whale calf. The entire pod joins in, forcing the calf to dive underwater, attempting to drown it. Although the gray whale mother does not intend to give up easily, the calf is still injured. She tries to shield the calf by placing it on her back, attempting to minimize the orca's attacks. Despite the calf weighing a ton, a full-force hit from the orcas nearly pushes it out of the water. With relentless attacks, Star's pod eventually overpowers the calf. Leaving the gray whale mother helpless. In this swift and decisive hunting action, the chances of survival for the gray whale mother are almost non-existent. The captured gray whale calf will be enough for Star's pod to have a full meal, marking a successful hunt and a crucial step in their survival pursuit. In the coastal areas of Thailand, crab-eating macaques, also known as long-tailed macaques, frequently head to the shore after low tide to forage. These macaques originally subsist on wild fruits and leaves from the forest, but the older ones take advantage of this time to seek out a seafood feast from the ocean. Particularly adept are those macaques that can use tools. They skillfully lift stones to crack open sea snails, enjoying a rich seafood meal. However, younger macaques might need some time to master this skill. As the tide recedes further, older female macaques begin to select suitable tools, using small stones to crack open rock oysters and savor the delicious seafood. This process relies not only on intelligence, but also on skill and experience. Fresh oyster meat is highly nutritious, but only a few macaques get to enjoy it. As the tide reaches its lowest point, the hidden feast gradually becomes visible. However, these delicacies are soon covered by the red stone steps, and capturing them requires some technique. Older long-tailed macaques cleverly use the waves to mask their ambush. And some smart macaques quickly learn this method, pulling up large crabs from the seabed and starting to enjoy a seafood banquet. Meanwhile, young macaques play in the shallow waters, and as the tide comes in, they need to prepare to retreat. On the other hand, the rising tide provides convenience for otters, which use this time for a seafood buffet. Due to their need to maintain body temperature in the cold seawater, otters require a lot of food. And hunting is not easy because marine prey moves quickly. When otters find plump crabs, they feast on them. Consuming about a quarter of their body weight daily to survive. After eating, otters quickly dive back into the sea to continue their search for food, able to stay underwater for around 20 minutes each time, leaving them almost no time to rest. These otters live their entire lives on this coastline, facing daily survival challenges.